We're very fortunate today that we've got Jordan Elkind here, and Jordan is going to take us through a presentation and discussion around why most B2B AI startups positionings fail. And I would argue there's probably a whole conversation around startups in general that are AI focused failing, but the focus that Jordan's taking is around the positioning. So, Jordan, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you, David. And it's great to meet all of you. What a special treat. I am in Columbus, Ohio. Any other Midwestern folks out there? We'll get to know each other over the presentation. Okay. I'm really excited to talk to you about something that is near and dear to my heart. As Chris mentioned in the introduction, we're going to be spending today talking about positioning as it affects B2B AI startups. And this is my first time getting to hang out with this group of people, so I'll start by expressing my enthusiasm. I also figure you have a right to know who the heck is talking to you, so I'll give a quick personal introduction. Um, I'll spare you the embarrassment of noticing that I do not look like this anymore by pointing out that this picture was taken before I had children. I've now got two 3.5-year-olds, so the aging process has hit me hard. Let me tell you a little bit about my background. I'm an unlikely marketer and got to my current role through a bunch of twists and turns. Perhaps others can relate. I went to business school in order to change careers from my first job out of college, which was in fundraising for actually a modern dance company, so nonprofit performing arts, and really wanted to go into analytics. This was at a time when there wasn't quite as robust of a hiring pipeline for data science, and even the role of data scientist was still in the early days. So I found myself as one of a team of predictive modelers at Citigroup. I apologize to all of you who may have received credit card applications in the mail. That was my team's doing. But my immediate reaction was, what the heck did I get myself into? Being one part of a team of 300,000 people across the globe, it was just not energizing for me. So through yet another wrong turn, I found myself at the helm leading the product development organization for an enterprise customer analytics platform called Castora. I spent about a decade working with data science and engineering teams and really enjoyed that work. But the whole time found myself plagued by this concern that, like, man, I'm building a lot of stuff that's not actually driving impact for the company in market. If only somebody could market this better, if only there were a better story around what I'm building, we would be on the hockey ship road to success. I became marketing curious and eventually found my way over to the discipline known as product marketing, which is sort of the intersection of marketing and product. Once Castora was acquired by Imperity, I led the product marketing function there, and eventually reached my current role at Blue Seedling, where I lead our positioning and messaging practice focused on helping early stage enterprise B2B companies nail their story in a way that makes immediate sense to their buyers and their market. I'll give just a quick obligatory pitch for Blue Seedling. We're an enterprise B2B marketing agency. We've worked with some incredible companies, some of which you may recognize. They're backed by amazing investors. So we've gotten to see a lot, see success stories and also failure modes for early stage companies, many of which have been AI startups over the past few years. And so I thought I would open this with a quick informal poll, just like chat your answers. I don't think we have a poll set up here. I'm really sick of opening LinkedIn and reading about how amazing AI is and how it's never been a better time to be a marketer. I would argue there's never been a worse time to be a marketer or a harder time. What are some of the headaches that AI has created for you if you see the world the way I do? Ooh, shitty AI lead gen tools, no understanding of customer needs. Okay. Well, keep the paper cuts coming. I'm gonna tell you what I hear. Beautiful, beautiful. Technology has made it so easy to build products. It's hard to build something differentiated. And an M dash is yes plus 100 to all of these. I'm going to share three of the challenges that I have faced and the companies that I have worked with have faced. I'm curious if these resonate. So the first, I can't remember the gentleman who remarked this, but it has never been easier, faster, or cheaper to build technology in any category. And the net result of this is that basically every category, no matter how sleepy, has become a fiery battleground of new competitors, lower barriers to entry than ever. I mean, even the notion of a technical moat, which was like, all the VCs were talking about 10 years ago. I, I'm not convinced that over any reasonable time horizon, technological moats exist any longer. Um, I'll highlight the next one. Maybe this is, David, a little related to the pain point that you highlighted. We as marketers are on the hot seat to deliver outrageous results. The expectations from our boards, our executive leadership for what marketing can do are higher than ever because, after all, AI should solve all of our funnel problems, all of our demand gen problems, um, all of our headcount problems. So, harder to differentiate, higher expectation than ever. And then, I mean, this is one that I bang my head against a wall thinking about day in and day out. The sea of sameness. Maybe some folks have heard this expression, right? Like, our buyers are getting pummeled with more and more messages across every channel. Channel saturation is leading to incredible confusion and diminishing effectiveness of basically every marketing tactic. I will go out on a limb and say sea of sameness sounds kind of polite to me and evokes images of like this, windswept English seaside. I, I don't know anybody in marketing who wouldn't agree with this assessment of the enshittification of marketing, right? The net result of more words, more messages, more entrants in every category is content saturation, inbox fatigue, and declining effectiveness of marketing channels. Okay, now that I've gotten out of the way the uncomfortable truth that AI has made our jobs much more difficult, I'd like to switch to what do we do about it? And the focus of my talk today is going to be three reasons B2B AI startups fail. This is very aggressively described as you. This is not directed at anyone on the phone. I'm going to share with you three common failure modes that I see for early stage companies trying to figure out their positioning and messaging in the market. I'll caveat this with the fact that I have a pretty narrow focus. Like, I focus on B2B companies, all of whom play in the enterprise space, meaning that they're selling pretty big deals. But my assessment would be that most of what I'm about to share is probably applicable across domains and across go-to-market motions. So the three things that we're going to talk about, number one, um, most companies end up positioning for and pitching to the wrong audience. We'll talk about how to debug and what to do about that. Number two, making AI the what, not the how. And number three, introducing stumbling blocks that force your buyer to do the work. Let's talk about pitching to the wrong audience. I'm just going to do a quick chat check to make sure I'm not. Okay. Well, at David's recommendation, we can set aside some group therapy time at the end. This is great. Thank you. Okay. Pitching to the wrong audience. Are folks familiar with Tom Tungu's like well-known VC, writes a lot? It was really a light bulb moment for me a few years ago when I came across this incredible, very simple post that he had, which is about introducing tension into your startup marketing message. He was looking at a very successful company at the time, Box, and wondering how is it that they have such vastly different messages when you go to hear their founder and CEO giving a thought leadership panel, like a keynote address, and when you go to their website. At the keynote address, their founder is talking about the vision transforming the future of work. But when you go to their startup website page, they're talking about something much simpler, a better, more reliable alternative to FTP for file transfer. And he came to the realization that in B2B marketing, you are simultaneously marketing to multiple audiences or stakeholders, and each positioning has its purpose. This is true, clear. I'm the dum dum for not realizing this ahead of time. But this really dawned on me when I was leading go to market for the customer analytics platform, Castora, that I worked for. Depending on who you asked, you could tell our value story at many levels of altitude and visionary ambition or specificity. For example, relying on this tired meme, when we told our story to investors, we were all about harnessing the power of data and AI. That is very different from what our day-to-day users would have described us as doing. I think being intellectually honest, if we had talked to our customers and asked us why they like us, they would have said, oh, you're like Google Sheets or Excel, but with better grouping and visualization. So for any product in any category, there are multiple audiences and altitudes at which you can pitch your message. My observation is that we do this wrong a lot of the time by confusing who we're marketing to and therefore getting the pitch and altitude of our message wrong. I really hope nobody on this call is from the companies that I have a lot of examples of websites, and we'll see them. This is all in the spirit of learning, so my apologies if anybody represents Jetify or WorkRamp. What do these have in common? Any observations? Just shout them out in the chat. Going once, going twice. Nice jargon, minimalist layout. No clue who the audience is and what they're solving for. Mike is winner, winner, chicken dinner.
I would also say this is this isn't just common. This is common within the entire ad tech industry. It's very opaque about what people are actually trying to sell you most of the time.
Yeah, I think that's right. In my mind, these are great examples of positioning for the wrong audience. They're not actually focused on the actual buyers, like the champions for these technologies. This is a learning management system, right? The buyer is HR and organizational development companies. Why the F would they care about a next gen LMS powering all of your current and future learning experiences? What does that even mean? That's so remotely detached from the day-to-day concerns of somebody who's, trying to do training, compliance for a large and distributed organization. The example on the right, I would argue, is pitched as a technical objection handling asset for technical reviewers. But they're not the people who are buying your product, right? Conversational analytics, they're selling to go-to-market teams that want answers to questions about Salesforce and pipeline. What the heck is data intelligence powered by semantic fusion? If I convince you of nothing else here, it's that you have a great message and positioning buried somewhere. You are probably just telling your story to the wrong audience on your website and in your sales material. I'm going to walk through my toolkit or recommendation, I'll say, a framework that I often return to for helping to debug this with the companies that I'm working with. So imagine that you were working with a company called Viaduct. They do AI analytics for automotive data. And you wanted to figure out at what altitude to pitch your message. The tool that I'm going to introduce you to, if you're not familiar with already, is this notion of a pain chain. You can either start at the top or start at the bottom. Let's start at the bottom, right? From the most technical, nitty gritty, hands-on keyboard pain, all the way to the most visionary, ambitious, forward-looking problem statement. And at every level of the pain chain, we're going to try to punch out with great clarity, what is the problem and how does our solution provide relief? So again, Viaduct, I don't expect anybody to know anything about it, but we'll go through it together. The most nitty gritty articulation of the pain that Viaduct is solving is something like this, right? if you're an automotive manufacturer, you're dealing with tons of complex data that's being thrown off by all of the sensors in your vehicles. This is very high volume data, so it's hard to work with. And it's time series data, which doesn't lend itself well to off the shelf AI and machine learning models. So you could describe what Viaduct does by saying at some level that it finds patterns or correlations in large scale time series data. Now, the key to the pain chain is to continually asking, so what? This is like the 5 whys, right? So what? Who cares about this? Well, if you can't analyze complex time series data, it's impossible to know which vehicles are at risk of failure. For example, let's say that there's some systemic issue with the infotainment system on your Nissan. You'll find out about it when customer complaints start coming in, like warranty claims, rather than ahead of time. So the value of what they're doing is providing a leading indicator. Why does that matter? Well, your business, if you're an automotive manufacturer, faces reputational risk and warranty costs because of increased incidents. You can resolve issues faster, more cheaply, and with less customer impact. I mean, you can really keep going and spinning a story of impact that goes all the way to the VC level. You know, like the most visionary articulation of the problem statement here is that if we can't compete effectively, then we risk disruption to our core business model and eventual extinction. The reason it's helpful to have this pain chain laid out in order from like the most visionary description of the statement to the most granular is that you can be honest about where to pitch your solution in light of your actual buyers. My assertion would be, generally speaking, if you're selling to a line of business or any business owner, the right positioning and message for you is going to be somewhere in the middle, something that's tied to the actual KPIs and day-to-day challenges that they face. The highest level messaging is great for your investors. The lowest level messaging is great for technical evaluators. This seems obvious, but it's something that companies get wrong a lot of the time. I'll give you some examples so you know that it's not my imagination. You know, we see it in both directions, but probably more common is feeling like we have to really up level our message, or VCs are pressuring us to create a new category, whatever. And you end up with theoretically prospect facing materials that are really suited to VCs and executive buyers. When you pitch your message honestly to the actual prospects and champions of your technology, what you will discover is that broadly, you have 2 biggest competitors, and they're not any of the other well-funded AI startups in your ecosystem. Competitor number 1 is status quo, or good enough. Do nothing, right? Like, this isn't a big enough pain point for us to invest in the risk and cost of solving it today. Sorry, that cheesy Hamilton reference. Number 2 is the technology players that they're already working with, Microsoft, Salesforce, right? Like, these are the massive giants that already have the time, attention, and trust of your enterprise buyers. Unless you are demonstrably 10x better at solving some critical business problem for them, there's no way that they're going to undertake the risk, reputational and financial, of working with you. So the guideline here is have a clear understanding of what your message is for your VCs, your actual buyers, and your technical evaluators, and deploy it thoughtfully. If I had to summarize kind of the cheat sheet for positioning by audience, when you're talking to investors or VCs, typically your goal is to secure funding. They're motivated by transformative market shifts and great upside. They'll generally encourage you to pioneer a new category. They don't give a shit about use cases that's like way below their pay grade. The primary competition that you need to be aware of is other well-funded startups. And typically the pressure you'll face in positioning is horizontal, right? Like, show that your technology can be applied broadly across markets. When you're trying to deflect technical objections or neutralize objections in the sales process and you're talking to technical teams, your goal is to get technical approval. They're typically motivated by building their own scalable and secure technical architecture. They'll want to see that they can build on top of you. Use cases are really secondary to them. The primary competitor is building in-house, and they'll want to see that they can deploy you across multiple functions within the org. My contention is treat these as second-class citizens. The primary goal in positioning should be to focus on the actual champion or buyer of your technology. Your goal is to close deals. They are motivated by loss and pain today. Typically, you'll have the greatest success by differentiating within an existing category. Use cases are of critical importance to them. The primary competitors, the argument that you have to make for being 10x better is against the status quo and incumbents. And typically, the winning play from a positioning standpoint is deep vertical focus. So showing you understand their day-to-day workflows and pain points intimately, and they don't care whether you can be expanded to other industries. So my recommendations here for those of us on the hot seat for positioning or messaging our enterprises: number one, start and treat as a first-class citizen your positioning around your actual champion, not investors or technical evaluators. Use the pain chain to identify the right altitude and focus for your pitch, and be intellectually honest about the fact that 9 times out of 10, your biggest competitors aren't the flashy new well-funded competitor that seems to be nipping at your heels on LinkedIn, but doing nothing or using tech we already have. Okay. Lesson number 2. Failure mode number 2, making AI the what, not the how. We're all, as marketers, trained. This is like the greatest case study of marketing marketing benefits, not features, right? Like Apple could have very easily marketed 5 gigabytes of storage space on the iPod, but instead they focused on the benefit to the user, 1,000 songs in your pocket. Before people start shouting like this isn't true anymore, there are lots of reasons to ignore it, I will be the first one to acknowledge that there are lots of good reasons to ignore this advice. For example, if you're in a category where the benefits are mind-numbingly well understood, you're probably going to get into a fight at some level that boils down to features. If you are selling purely to technical teams, selling on features can be a helpful play. My contention is that neither of these is true for the vast majority of B2B AI companies, and feedback from customers is resounding that they really don't care about your AI. Don't take my word for it. There have been plenty of studies to substantiate this. The one that I liked the most was by Irrational Labs. It was a survey of something like 800 enterprise buyers, where they basically took the messaging for well-known day-to-day companies like Zendesk, the customer support company, and articulated their value proposition in 2 ways. One that was AI-centric, so think like AI-first service catered to human, and one that was focused on the core value proposition and didn't even mention AI. Based on this scientific study of buyers, the evidence was very clear, right? Buyers have lower trust, as evidenced by lower conversion rates when they're bombarded with AI-first messaging. And importantly, there's no evidence of difference in willingness to pay. It neither creates trust nor increases the perceived value of the solution. I think this should be a wake-up call to all of us who are doing positioning and messaging for AI companies. I'm not particularly smart. I'm not the only one who has figured this out. If you were to go back in your Wayback Machine to like a year ago and look at the homepage of, again, some well-known brands that we know, you would have seen very AI-centric, aggressively AI-centric messaging, to the point where it's not even clear what they do, right? Grow with AI-powered CX for Gorgeous, which is customer service. ZenHub, the next era of project management, is AI first. Fast forward to today, you'll see substantially crisper and more pain point focused messaging where AI is a supporting player. And if this were true across the board, I could shut up and give you guys all your time back. But unfortunately, it's not. there are plenty of examples of this type of aggressive AI talk that's unhinged from actual buyer pain points and unhinged from the core value proposition of the product. Um, and it's rife across every industry. And so rather than giving you sort of a school matronly lecture on why not to do it, I'll start with the acknowledgement that, hey, it's 2025. Like everyone is an AI company. How do we actually do this better than simply slapping AI onto our homepage? There's this kind of nasty term, AI washing. It has negative connotations for understandable reasons, like exaggerating the capabilities of our product or service that's sold as AI in order to make it look more sophisticated, innovative, or intelligent than it actually is. I would posit a more neutral and, in my mind, helpful definition, which is deliberately centering and merchandising AI capabilities that support your core value proposition to connect with the pain points of a specific audience. Let's look at good and bad examples of this in the wild, and I think you'll get what I mean. So we're going to do 2 knockout rounds here. The first one's going to be focused on site search. It's fun doing this because these aren't categories that I operate in. It's just like I'm observers. We can all be observers here and learn together. Okay, first round. Which of these is a good example of AI washing, and which is a less successful example of AI washing? Shout it out. You can use your mouth or your keyboard. It's not a trick question.
I like the one on the right.
What do you like about it?
What do I think about it? Well, it speaks more to the value.
Totally.
It's tangible.
Love it. Yes, I agree. Okay, like I said, this isn't a trick question. I think we're reaching a consensus here. What is so good about the one on the right, in my opinion? Earl, I'm going to pick on you because this is a delightful answer. It's focused on the people and their problems. Yes. Look, I've never been a site search manager. I am guessing that one major challenge that these people face is training a new site search system. It's like a classic cold start problem. And there is probably a very daunting hurdle that they are thinking about when they work with a new vendor. How do you make sure that you get relevant results for people searching for things on day one without 6 months of actual data? The core value proposition of Site 2, AI is a supporting player, right? It's like relevance on day one. I think this is like a chef's kiss example of buyer-centric messaging where AI sort of recedes gracefully into the background and helps to enhance the value proposition without smacking somebody over the head with it. Okay. Anybody work in HR tech? Round 2, HR tech. Let's do it again. Same question.
I like 2.
Yeah, 2 puts the buyer, the pain points right up front and center.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, 2, whoever their VC was probably hated 2, right? It's not visionary. It's actually, in some ways, super maps onto the actual human behavior that people do today, like parsing and trying to match resume description. That is why I think 2 is genius, right? Like this, if I were an HR or a recruiting specialist and came across this would immediately resonate with a familiar job to be done, something that is a well understood pain point. I mean, we can dispute the overenthusiastic use of exclamation points in their description, but anyway, I think you guys get the idea.
Jordan, did you see Paula's comment there?
No, I did not. Paula, fire away. What a provocative point of view. I also don't work in HR tech, so I'm a know nothing.
I run a retained executive search firm in New York City, and I focus on being very leading edge from a technology standpoint. And I have AI built into my database, and I use other AI services, and I haven't seen this work yet. And we try it on every search, and we try it probably 100 different ways. So we really work at it. And I've been doing this for decades, and it's not there yet because AI doesn't fully understand the business and how we select people.
It's a wonderful and nuanced point, and a reminder that no positioning and messaging, no matter how good, can make up for product deficiencies. I would ask, though, with the benefit of your expertise in this space, would you agree that, setting aside whether you believe it or not, the way that the value proposition is communicated in the website on the right is clearer and maps onto a familiar challenge for you and your colleagues more than everything talent powered by AI?
Yeah, everything talent powered by AI doesn't tell you anything. The other one gives you a specific thing, and it's one of the specific things you really want AI to do if it can.
Very beautifully put. I would agree. Thank you for the
Add that number one
context on.
almost says you're out of a job, right?
I'm sorry.
I was saying that the one on the left, if you're reading it as somebody running that kind of a program, it basically says your team's gone, right? You're no longer needed. It does all of it for you. Everything talent AI takes over.
I don't find that. I want people, there are so many things that are factors when you actually talk to someone. Their tone, because I'm generally looking for senior people who are leaders. So their tone, their speed, their dexterity, I don't ask questions in a specific way. I'm always going back and forth, checking, double checking. There's a lot of things, sometimes, and I always have my team listening when I'm interviewing. And sometimes I'll just shut off the Zoom and go, too boring to be above a director level anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't care what the resume says.
I'm agreeing with you. I was just saying that one of the things that I think a lot of people have a general issue with is the risk of pushing jobs out, like or shrinking teams. We're seeing it in some instances where the leadership saying use this tool, and the team goes, "Gosh, that's going to collapse our team by 3 people if we do something like this." And they have 10 objections as to why. So I was just saying that potentially that some could take that everything talent powered by AI is a rip and replace for the current processes. So the buyer might object.
I see the same thing, Chris. I think that's targeted at the VC or the board of directors who are looking to cut costs, not solve problems.
It's very rare. I never make any assumptions about who's going to be in the audience, but it's very rare to have an industry insider to help us make sense of this. And so don't take my word for it. Take Paula's word for it. Mm-hmm. AI.
And I agree with Adrian. Let's get back to the core of what you have to say.
AI is table stakes. It's not a differentiator. For that reason, think really carefully around the role that AI can play in advancing your core story. I think I've probably inundated you guys with my perspective on this. I'm a big proponent of specificity, perhaps to a fault. But I think specificity is magical, right? Like when you as a buyer encounter a vendor who echoes your precise pain point in the words that you use and maps it to familiar jobs to be done and challenges that you face in your day-to-day world, that's where the magic happens. And I would go so far as to, I mean, I say this with my clients every day, just like take AI out of everything you say. Imagine it's 2020 or 2021. What is the core message that you want to convey to buyers? Then you can artfully add it back in where it helps to enhance the story. But starting from the supposition that we have to be AI first or use AI to dictate the shape of our narrative and message, I think is one of the biggest mistakes that companies make. Okay. Lesson number 3 on forcing the buyer to do the work. Do people know who this is? This friendly avatar?
Scrubbing bubbles.
The scrubbing bubble.
Yeah. I didn't include this on my whatever resume of failed experiences that you saw, but I worked briefly at SC Johnson on the Scrubbing Bubbles brand. Scrubbing Bubbles is a toilet cleaner. It's really good. Like, it's a good product. Its primary benefit is that it cleans and disinfects your toilet. But here's a question, and I'm sorry to get graphic. Like, how do you know that your toilet has actually been disinfected? You can't see 99.8% of the germs disappearing. Like, how do you know that it's actually delivering on the core value proposition? SC Johnson, and this is a trade secret, so please keep your mouth shut, spent and spends a lot of time and money in R&D effort perfecting the transform to blue formulation of Scrubbing Bubbles. So those of you who have used this product might be familiar. It's like a colorless thing, but when it makes contact with the toilet bowl, it turns blue. I was really perplexed by this when I first joined the business, but now it's like the most brilliant thing, right? People don't know if it's working. And so they need to be cued with visual cues to understand that this product is actually doing its job. Fundamentally, when you're making a claim like 99.8% disinfected, they don't know how to assess the value of the thing that you're building. And so they rely on storytelling, visual storytelling. I would argue that we're in a different kind of toilet bowl right now with the preponderance of AI stuff. But look, like, this is a very classic information asymmetry problem, right? Like, buyers don't know how to assess what they need. They don't know how to assess the difference between vendors. And holy crap, they don't even know if the thing that they bought is valuable and doing the job that they signed it up to do. This is a really challenging and fun marketing problem. And there are lots of other examples of SC Johnson doing this well and other CPG. So it's a fun thing we can talk about later. But basically, how do you use storytelling and cueing to help buyers understand and believe in the value of what you're delivering? My assertion is that brand and storytelling matter more than ever. And yet, ... If we were to go back to the previous slides that I showed, all of the like naughty examples, what did they have in common? I call this the flying car phenomenon. Like, maybe you've seen this firsthand or elsewhere. Like, it feels like every single company gave their creative team or brand agency a brief that said, give innovation, but in a way that's totally detached from the things that your buyers are thinking about day to day. I mean, flying cars, I wish this were a made up example, but you'll see visuals that are space age and convey futurism. It's really difficult for buyers, I think, to make sense of your core offering and how it helps them day to day when they're seeing not the blue dye in the toilet bowl, but I don't know, like a futuristic avatar.
It's too far in the future is what you're saying, right?
Say it again.
It's too far in the future.
Yeah.
What they just need is, what does next quarter look like for us, right?
Precisely.
Or what does next year look like for us?
Precisely, Adrian. And I'll go one step further. I think we're in this weird arms race of trying to impress buyers with how futuristic we are and stuff like that. Does anybody know why electronic slot machines have mechanical arms? I mean, at least some of them.
For psychological reasons.
1000%. Do you remember what the psychological phenomenon is called?
Oh, I don't know what it's called. Anyone else?
Charmin bears. I love it. Okay, well, shout it out. This is very niche. There's no reason, but for your next dinner party, you can reference skeuomorphism, armification, skeuomorphism. So, what you see on the right here, these are all examples. I mean, skeuomorphism is the concept that's often used in UI, UX design for tech companies. It involves adapting familiar features, often analog features, for a digital interaction. I mean, everything from, yeah, Adrian.
So when Kayak first came out, they would use a flipping motion of the letters to load.
Yeah.
And it's like being at the train station and waiting for Amtrak to tell you which train station, like which tunnel to go to. So Kayak was using a skeuomorphism for that. Another example that I have from IBM is we were working with the NBA with certain teams around trades. And so they recreated a digital trade room on trade day to get the skeuomorphism, and then they could dial it back to make it more applicable. But they basically created a table, a touch-enabled table that was recreating draft day in the NBA. So those are the two examples that I can think of.
Well, the original iPhone, all the original native apps were all skeuomorphism. You know, like, I don't know if you remember those.
Yes. Yeah, it's if you look at icon design over time, like Instagram is actually a great example of this. The original icon for Instagram was very skeuomorphic, right? It had like shading and depth. It was designed to look like a real camera. Over time, people understand what it is, right? It's like flattened into a more digital icon. But this is a well-known strategy for helping to bridge the divide between things that people understand about the world, the concepts that are familiar to them today, and some sort of future innovation. I'm just going to do a quick chat check here. My observation here, and I hope it doesn't seem unkind, is that this book wins, right? Like, this is how you get buyers to cross the divide between the world that they know today and the world of innovation. But this is precisely the opposite of all the examples that we've seen so far, which are focused on far-ranging visionary ambition, unanchored to familiar concepts or use cases or pain points. I had the pleasure 2 weeks ago of talking with the chief marketing officer of NICE, the publicly traded customer support company. And what she was saying was, when they were originally brainstorming the product names for their AI agents, their first instinct was to lean hard into innovation, to call them, I don't know, I can't remember what she called them, like intelligence agents or something like that. And they ended up going with like the most boring possible name for them, a co-pilot or something like that. But the insight that she had was like, our goal isn't to impress buyers. It's to anchor on them on a familiar thing that they already understand and then help them the next step of the way. Mm-hmm. My takeaways here, in case they're not abundantly obvious, is like you should be challenging yourself, forcing yourself, even when it's painful, to map what you're doing onto familiar categories, names, and jobs to be done, to making it mind-numbingly obvious where you fit in their day-to-day workflow, what you replace, what you enhance. And then finally, like, your brand and visuals should be a storytelling asset, not a liability. In my mind, a liability is something that takes the focus off of the way that you help actual buyers do their day-to-day job better. So to sum up all this stuff, three core messages to leave you with. Number one, your actual buyers, the people who will pull you through the sales process and pay for your technology, don't want revolution or transformation. They want relief from day-to-day challenges They want to get home to their family and their kids earlier. Number two, nobody buys AI. They buy better outcomes enabled by an AI, which means the bar is very high for you to articulate with specificity how AI helps you deliver value to them that only you can. And number three, your job isn't to impress. Like, that's not what we're here to do. It's to make the buyer's decision obvious. And very often that means cueing them with familiar mental models, categories, and jobs to be done, being the blue dye in the toilet bowl cleaner so they get what we do and why. 3 things for you to do today. Number one, I encourage you, if you find yourself in my role helping either the company that you work for or your clients figure out their positioning, build a pain chain. It's a great tool to understand what the right message is at various altitudes. If you are like many of the companies that I work with, chances are that you're either pitching to VCs or anticipating objections by technical evaluators rather than actually speaking to the pain of your buyers. Number two, outcome first, then AI. Like, strip AI from your headline, your sales deck, whatever, and then thoughtfully and strategically reintroduce it where it supports the core story. And number three, I mean, I appreciate cleverness as much as the next person. Be clear rather than clever. Like, take some phrase, feature, or concept that you have today and dumb it down. Like, put it in familiar terms for your buyers. And I guarantee with a 99.8% success rate verified by blue toilet bowl dye that you will have more success. That's what I was hoping to talk to you about today. I would love to take time for any questions. I've also just loved reading people's thoughts. What a brilliant group this is.
Jordan, when you do the pain chain, do you have any advice on how to involve others, kind of cross discipline within organizations to see it through their lens?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I work with early stage companies. One of the only sources of competitive advantage that they have is leanness and the ability to move fast. But what that means is most often when I'm building a pain chain, I'm doing it with a very small subset of the leadership team, like founder and CEO, chief revenue officer, or VP sales, VP marketing, VP customer success, and product leadership. I recommend, whether you're working with a company where those are all the employees, or that's a delegated subset of the organization, keeping it small and focused. Treat it as like a working session, whiteboard it. I mean, it's analog, but it works. And once you think you have an intellectually honest characterization of the pain chain, share it with some of your trusted customers, even a prospect for validation. In my experience, there's often a lot of trepidation, like, oh, if we talk to our customers about this, they'll realize we don't know what the heck we're doing. In my experience, customers and prospects are the best source of sanity checking. So start with a core group of 5 to 6 leaders from across disciplines, and then battle test with the people who will be seeing it in the wild.
Hi, Jordan. This is Kate. I just wanted to thank you for this, even though it was incredibly painful because this topic is like a bee in my bonnet every day. I'm a consultant working with companies on AI implementation and education, and just being able to bridge that gap with the platforms that are out there is just so much work for me and for my colleagues. So my question for you is, A, can I refer you to some people? But B, to what extent do you see the difference between this being a marketing challenge and a sales enablement challenge? Right? Because for me, like, sales enablement is really the most sticky space. Even if they're able to get their message across in a clear way, it's actually, the teaching and the demonstrating and the providing examples and the talking and all of that are just not part of the sales teams that exist at a lot of these startups. So just love your thoughts on that.
Oh boy. Well, first of all, you have a fascinating day job, Kate. We should meet and swap battle stories. I'm really curious to learn more about your world. Two immediate thoughts, zero silver bullets. First thought, I hope that I haven't characterized everything that we've talked about till now as a marketing challenge. In my mind, positioning, which is really a strategy question, right? Like, how do we define the hill that we want to own in terms of the category, the core value, the segment of the market that we're going after? It's a recipe for failure if marketing is leading the charge on that. I mean, marketing can help to galvanize and focus the conversation, but in cases where I have seen it working well, it is a strategy conversation at the company level that encompasses product, the entire go-to-market function, so sales and customer success. So I hope I haven't, by virtue of the fact that like I'm a marketer, I don't think marketing has any proprietary right or should be the only one driving this process. Thing number two is sales enablement and maybe field enablement more broadly, because I would, in today's world, you're still selling to your customers after they sign a contract, right? Like you're telling them the story of your value every day and potentially looking to expand the account. This is one of the single biggest gaps that I see in even small companies today. There's the assumption that once the message or the strategy is in place, that somehow all the other pieces will just, the stars will align magically. Like sellers will know exactly how to run the play, and customer success folks will know how to shepherd customers to value, even what the happy path looks like for customers. I don't think any of that is a given. And, positioning is the first step. It's asserting kind of what the unique value is that we provide. But I think enablement in various forms, sales enablement, CS enablement, is like the logical follow on, and the ball gets dropped a lot. I don't know what to say. On a positive, like a silver lining note, I have noticed anecdotally from the companies that I work with, much more interest in sales enablement today than 12 or 18 months ago. So 12 or 18 months ago, the name of the game was like, hey, Jordan, like come in here and help us get our message right, and then buzz off and mind your own business. And anymore, it's help our sales team figure out how to tell the story in a way that's confident and credible, help them anticipate the first 5 objections. And I think that's very sensible. And I'm sorry that this is something that you're seeing firsthand as well. It's tough.
Thanks.
We're up to just a couple minutes left. I put in the chat for anybody that wanted to reach Jordan his email. And Jordan, just as a point of reference, there was a question if you could put the process chain slide back up. I don't know if you're able to do that quickly. We can certainly also share it.
Yeah, sorry. I suppose there's a more generic version of this. And this really is quite specific to one company, but I hope you get this is the one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jordan. Thanks, Chris, for stepping up today. It's great to have the community get to join in all kinds of ways.